Hello and welcome. Tonight, PDP Zoning Committee concludes its assignment, fails to make public its recommendations, but speculations arrive that the presidential ticket has been flung open. Sack looms in the Federal Civil Service as government uncovers 1,500 workers with fake appointment letters, also suspend salaries of 3,000 officers across MDAs. Terrorists on the prowl again, attack military base in Benengwari local government area of Kaduna State, kill at least 10 soldiers.
And in international news from London, reports of atrocities from Kiev have prompted Italy, Sweden, France and Germany to expel their Russian diplomats.
On business news tonight, House of Representatives uncovers 3.8 billion naira unclaimed funds from National Social Insurance Trust Fund and sets to issue arrest warrants on bank MDs.
On Sports News tonight, Tiger Woods to play the 86th Masters starting Thursday at Augusta National, making an incredible return to competition 14 months after suffering severe right leg injuries in a car crash.
And from Abuja, House of Representatives expresses concern over hike in diesel price, mandates its Committee on Petroleum Upstream and Downstream to investigate increase.
It appears the People's Democratic Party may be close to resolving the seeming stalemate in its zoning arrangement ahead of the party's primary on the 28th of May. This indication was given today by the Governor of Benue State and Chairman of the party's zoning committee, Samuel Otom. Briefing journalists at the end of the committee's meeting in Abuja, Governor Otom says members of the committee have reached an agreement on the matter, adding that the report of the committee will be forwarded to the National Executive Committee of the party. Well, however, there are speculations that the committee may have recommended that the contest for the PDP presidential ticket be thrown open to all aspirants.
Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, as you can see, flanked by the 37 members of the PDP Zoning Committee for 2022. We have just concluded our meeting after we rose from our meeting last week and decided that today we will meet. And by the grace of God, we have unanimously adopted a position that will be sent to the neck of our party that appointed us. So the good news for our teaming supporters of the PDP and Nigerians is that we have resolve. And every one of us, the 37 members, unanimously adopted the position we are going to present to next. Thank you very much for the interest you have shown. God bless you, and God keep all of us.
With the PDP NEC expected to take the final decision on the issue of zoning, the suspense continues ahead of the May 28th presidential primary of the main opposition party. In this next report, our political correspondent, Benga Ashiru, examines the intricacies of the zoning arrangements and the implications for the PDP ahead of the 2023 presidential election.
It's a make or mar for the ambitions of the presidential hopefuls within the People's Democratic Party as the die is cast in the race for the presidential ticket ahead of the May 28th PDP presidential primary. In the preceding days, political heavyweights have thronged the PDP headquarters to obtain their presidential nomination forms as arguments for the mode of primaries dominated the political space, making a case for the political future of each of the presidential hopefuls.
What I am coming with, therefore, is my pan-Nigerian content.
At this point, really what we should be discussing is how do we win this election? It's the fundamental issue for the political parties. Give the candidature to the person who will spearhead a child, the most likely person to win an election for you. Give your candidature to that person. Zone the offices that support that person. In 2019, the southern aspirants allow every aspirant of the PDP to be from the north. Alaja Tikuku didn't win the election. Fine. Now they are asking that it should be to the north again. Haba. If they don't, somebody told me, because they didn't win. So 2023, if they didn't win, 2027 we will still leave the party in the north.
In the coming days, the debate about zoning got to a fevered pitch, splitting the PDP into three major camps. The former Vice President, Atiku Abubakar, on one side, the trio of former Senate President Bukola Saraki, Governor of Sokoto State, Aminu Tambuwal, and Governor of Bauchi State. All these have been into consensus consultations.
For the interest of the party, that we should come together and look at the consensus arrangement.
And the third group, led by the Governor of Rivers State, Nyesom Wike, who strongly believes the PDP presidential ticket should be zoned to the south.
When we run an economic policy.
However, there are still other contenders like the former Senate President, Senator Pius Aim, Udom Emmanuel, and Sam Ohaboa, and others. With the resolution of Governor Autumn's led zoning committee reaching an undisclosed unanimous agreement, the onus now lies on the National Executive Committee to either adopt the Governor Autumn's report or find ways of addressing an acceptable mode that would lead the PDP to victory at the 2023 elections. Benga Ashiru, reporting for Channels Television News.
Meanwhile, the northern presidential aspirants on the platform of the People's Democratic Party have continued their mission of uniting the party by forming a common front and fielding a consensus presidential candidate for the 2023 elections. They met today at the Akwa Ibom Government House to get the support of Governor Udom Emmanuel and other party members. Both Dr. Saraki, who spoke on behalf of other aspirants, and Governor Emmanuel affirmed the need to build a team of patriots to tackle the nation's challenges.
And we're here to meet with you as a key stakeholder. We, the four who are aspiring to present our platform, to brief the governor of our intention to find a way of uniting us, that ensuring that we put the country, the party first, and to inform him of our intention to have a consensus arrangement, because that is what we believe will make the party stronger. The hardship that Nigerians are going through, the insecurity, it's only PDP that can offer that. And part of being ready to form government is this process of unity. It's key, and being able to, yes, we all have individual ambitions, but the ambition of the party of Nigeria, the ambition of making Nigeria more secure, the ambition of making life more tolerable for our Nigerians is a greater ambition.
These are all people that love Nigeria. These are people that look forward to what we can make out of the bad situation right now. It goes beyond partisanship. There's no point somebody trying to play partisanship at this time, because we have only one country. So it's a time we look at capacity, look at so many other things. Let me not start counting them one by one, so that it doesn't seem as if I'm selling the CV of some people. But necessarily, these things will be looked at. Why must these things be looked at? If you're looking for an MD CEO today of any corporate body, the qualification that you're looking for will span 4 to 5 pages. But what's the qualification of being the president of Nigeria with 200 million destinies behind you? That is left to be reviewed, and then the question is left for you, press guys, to answer. I don't want to answer it, so I won't be misquoted. But I think this is a time that we need to look inward. We need to reappraise and then look at certain things that we must do, and we must do it right. We must also do it timely. If we don't get it right on time, probably will take us a longer time to get rid of it, but I'm sure we'll get it right.
Well, the train of the northern PDP aspirants also touched base with the Oyo State Governor's office, but they were received by Governor Seyi Makinde. The governor expressed confidence that whoever emerges as the party's flag bearer would be someone with mass appeal.
In quotes, the second, we will work hand in hand, work together to ensure that this consensus arrangement is successful. So I've also said that internally we will ensure that people understand what we're trying to do, and where there's any item of doubt or confusion, we will put a mechanism in place where that will get addressed almost immediately.
To security matters now. In Kaduna State, 10 soldiers have been killed and some others injured by terrorists who attacked a military base in Beningwari local government area. Military authorities are yet to confirm the incident, but a source told Channels Television that the soldiers were attacked at an Army forward operational base close to the Mikati farm on the Kaduna-Beningwari road yesterday evening. The source says the soldiers were taken unawares by the terrorists who stormed the base on motorcycles with sophisticated weapons and immediately opened fire. According to the source, the bandits monitored the soldiers' movement up to the headquarters of the operational base where they launched the attack on them. Beningwari has been one of the hotspots of banditry in Kaduna State in the past 5 years. Following the bombing of the Kaduna-Abuja rail track and the Kaduna airport attack, the leadership of the House of Representatives have met with the service chiefs, the Director General of the DSS, Inspector General of Police, as well as the Minister of Transportation. The Deputy Speaker of the House had last week sent back representatives of the service chiefs, ministers, insisting on their appearance in person. At the end of the meeting, which was held behind closed doors, the Speaker, Femi Gbajabiamila, told journalists that ideas were shared to enhance collaboration among security agencies.
We have extensive deliberation. A lot of the issues we discussed there, unfortunately, as defense matters go, were not things for public consumption. But I can assure you that there was a lot of collaboration. A lot of ideas came together. In terms of how the security agencies can work together as opposed to speak together in one voice as opposed to different voices. We're talking about the all-important issue of whether or not there are elements within the military themselves that we need to deal with the issue of moles, like some have stated. We talked about training and retraining. We talked about the issue of capacity and allowances. We talked about several things. A lot of them, like I said, touch on security, and I'm not at liberty at this point. But for us to have been in there for 4 or 5 hours, you must know that we made some good headway and extensive decisions were made.
In part two, after the break, Nigerian military seeks partnership with the civil populace and the media in the face of mounting insecurity. Please stay with us. Welcome back. If you just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 live on Channels Television Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. PDP Zoning Committee concludes its assignment, fails to make public its recommendations, but speculations are rife that the presidential ticket has been flung open. The federal government uncovers 1,500 workers with fake appointment letters, also suspends salaries of 3,000 officers across MDAs. Terrorists on the prowl again attack military base in Beningwari local government area of Kaduna State, kill at least 10 soldiers. And reports of atrocities near the capital of Ukraine prompt France, Germany, Italy, Denmark and Sweden to expel Russian diplomats. with security matters as the Katsina state government has denied claims by 34 Akwa Ibom indigents about attacks on their homes and shops while residing in the state. According to the special advisor to the state governor on security matters, Ibrahim Ahmed, who was speaking at a press conference at the Katsina government house, he says there was no such scenario. The 34 Akwa Ibom indigents who were evacuated by their state government had narrated their ordeal following the attacks on the communities where they resided.
Some Akwa Ibom indigents, about 38 of them, I think, have been evacuated by the state government based on the general inscription that's in the state. We want to draw the attention of the Akwa Ibom state government and other state governments that may fall victims of people that are trying to cash into the current situation to extract certain favors from their governors. The situation in Katsina, as all of you can attest to, is stable. It's peaceful. We're on top of the situation. There's no single incident where a non-indigent has been attacked or has been subjected to the terror of the banditry that we're facing. Most of the challenges we're facing in Katsina are community-based. Everybody can attest to that. And we're doing whatever it takes to be on top of the situation. So for some people to take it upon themselves to be going around creating tension, we want to draw the attention of every state government that please, if there's any of such, they can reach out to the state government here to confirm, not to send vehicles to come and evacuate their people with a problem that is non-existent. We don't want people to be apprehensive to create tension that is non-existent. We want to assure the general public that everybody that is staying in Katsina is safe, and peace is returning gradually, that in the whole of Northwest, there is no state that is as stable as Katsina.
Islamic cleric Sheikh Mohammed Khalid, who was recently sacked as chief imam Akpo Legislative Quarters Mosque, is vowing not to relent in his messages on the state of the nation. He was relieved of his job following his criticism of the president on the security challenges facing the country. In an exclusive interview with Channels Television, the cleric says it is the duty of every Nigerian to engage the government on national issues, especially as it concerns the lives of citizens.
People are... What I did was right, was never wrong. Because I said it was unfortunate for us to experience what happened for Nigerians in the train. It was unfortunate. And I said, the President, His Excellency, the President, supposed to do more than what he did. And I said, if they are only concerned with voting and elections, with counting votes, then we are going to speak that language to them and give them condition that secure Nigeria before 2023 or we don't vote again. What we are asking is security. If it is a sin to ask for a secured Nigeria, I'm ready to go to hell for that. But I know it's not a security, it's not a sin to ask for a secured Nigeria.
To other stories, the federal government has detected over 1,500 workers who presented fake letters of employment to the verification committee set up by the federal government. The head of the Civil Service of the Federation made this known at the National Policy Dialogue and Entrenching Transparency in Public Office Recruitment in Nigeria, organized by the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission in Abuja. Dr. Folashade Yemioso says that the federal government has suspended the salaries of 3,000 civil servants who failed to present themselves for verification, saying that the exercise is to eradicate fake and illegal recruitment in government agencies.
Issues of illegal and fake recruitment by government agencies dominates discussions as the Independent Corrupt Practices Commission holds a policy dialogue on entrenching transparency in public service recruitment in Nigeria. Officials of the ICPC lay the foundation for the conversation, highlighting the essence of the dialogue.
Today's dialogue seeks to further the sub-objective of the National Anti-Corruption Strategy, which is to institute more transparent, merit-based recruitment processes.
There is near consensus across our country and across political divides that there is lack of transparency in public service recruitment process across all tiers of government within the country.
The federal government has set up a verification committee to combat the incident of job racketeering in the nation's public service. The exercise has made some discoveries since last year.
Nigeria as a country continues to explore all possible means to close the unemployment gap. Sometime in March of 2021, this office informed the ICPC that there were quite a number of fake letters of appointment circulating in the ministries. At that particular time, we discovered that in just one ministry alone, there were over 1,000 individuals bearing fake letters of appointment, and they were already enrolled on the payroll. The Office of the Head of Service received another report, this time from the Federal Civil Service Commission itself, forwarding names of over 500 persons in various MDAs that possess fake letters of appointment.
There can't be any justification for recruiting anybody less than the best into any of the arms of the public service or the federation and any of the federating units. That is the starting point.
Although the scope of the dialogue is limited to the entrenchment of transparency in public service recruitment, participants are optimistic that the policy dialogue will recommend mechanisms within agencies to increase internal transparency.
And we head to our Abuja studios where Magwe Ogun-Yusuf has some more stories. Hello, Magwe. It's another win for Channels Television, isn't it?
It is indeed, and some more dialogue as well, as the role of the media in dousing tension in the face of insecurity has been described as critical. This is the view of the Chief of Civil Military Cooperation at the Defense Headquarters, Rear Admiral Adeseye Ayobanjo, while speaking at a meeting on the need for cooperation between the media and military authorities here in Abuja. Rear Admiral Ayobanjo is promising that the military will be prompt and accurate in information dissemination.
Members of the media and top military officers are meeting to enhance their working relationship, especially in the face of the recent security challenges bedeviling the nation.
On enhancing journalist-military cooperation.
From banditry attacks in the north to the unrest in the south-south and the several communal clashes, members of the media and the military could not agree less that striking a balance in the discharge of their constitutional roles must be adhered to while offering to support each other.
Accordingly, journalists and members of the armed forces are partners in progress. They need each other to actualize the mandates of their professional callings. For instance, notwithstanding military monopoly in the use of the weapons of violence, it cannot win the war in the hearts and minds of the people by kinetic means.
The media, no doubt, still remain one of the most reliable institutions, especially in the context of conflict resolution and development. Inherent in the media are the elements of developmental journalism, social responsibility, and agenda setting.
The former army spokesperson, Brigadier General Sani Usman, drives home the need for cooperation between the media and the military in his paper titled Enhancing Military Journalist Cooperation to Check in Insecurity. He then gives his recommendations.
The Nigerian journalists need to, at all times, exercise a high sense of responsibility and patriotism
in the reportage of conflicts and operational activities of the military. B. The Nigerian military must cooperate and provide all necessary information to journalists in matters of national interest without prejudice to force protection, operational security, and national security. And 3. The Nigerian media need to ensure proper framing of conflict information before dissemination to the public. And 4. The standard operational procedures should be developed for journalists in reporting operational activities of the Nigerian military.
It wasn't all about speeches. Reporters and media organizations who have been contributing their quota in ensuring public safety were recognized. The gesture, according to the organizers, aims at improving information dissemination as the military strives to reduce the spate of insecurity in the country.
In economic matters, following the recent hike in the price of diesel in the country, the House of Representatives has mandated its committees on petroleum resources, upstream and downstream, as well as gas resources to investigate the astronomical increase. This follows a motion on the matter sponsored by Honorable Chike Okafor. The lower chamber is concerned that the hike in the cost of diesel is alleged to be the handiwork of unscrupulous players in the industry and could lead to economic sabotage. The House is also calling for a reduction in the price of cooking gas.
Concerned that diesel was deregulated in 2009 with an initial price of 100 naira per litre, and between 2009 to date, Nigerians have witnessed a rising percentage increase in the price of the product. Also concerned that the hike in the cost of diesel is alleged to be the handiwork of unscrupulous stakeholders in the industry and is tantamount to economic sabotage, causing untold hardships on Nigerians as it will result in an increase in prices of food as well as other goods and services. Worried that the possible inflationary pressure envisaged from the rise in the cost of diesel could reduce consumers' disposable income, thus making it impossible for average Nigerians to meet their basic needs. Cognizant that if the ugly trend of the increasing price of diesel is not checked, the multiplier effect will spell doom for Nigeria's economy. The House is hereby invited to resolve to 1. Mandate the committees on petroleum resources downstream, petroleum resources upstream, and gas resources to investigate the unexplained astronomical increase in the price of diesel with a view to ensuring that a reasonable price is fixed to alleviate the sufferings of Nigerians and report back within 6 weeks for further legislative action.
Still ahead on the news at 10, House of Representatives uncovers 3.8 billion naira unclaimed funds from the Nigerian Social Insurance Trust Fund and set to issue warrants of arrest for bank MDs. That's some business news. Do join us again. Welcome back to the news at 10. We're still at the National Assembly. This time, the Senate has extended the implementation of the 2021 Appropriation Act from March the 31st to May the 31st, 2022. The upper chamber gave the approval for the budget extension after examining a bill to amend the 2021 Appropriation Act. Presenting the bill during Tuesday's plenary session, Senate Leader Yahya Abdullahi says the extension of the budget period is necessary to ensure that ongoing projects are completed.
The 2021 Appropriation Act Clause 12 states that in line with the provisions of Section 318 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, this act runs for a period of 12 months starting from 1st day of January to 31st day of December 2021. You recall, Mr. President, my colleagues, that the 2021 Appropriation Act was further amended to extend the implementation year from 31st December 2021 to 31st March 2022. This was to ensure that the funding for the projects and the processes for implementation and payment for the contracts are completed at that time. In view of the critical importance of these key projects which are nearing completion, it is expedient to grant further extension of the expiration clause to avoid confounding the problem of abandoned projects, given that some of the projects were not provided for in the 2022 budget. Therefore, the need to extend the implementation year to 31st March 2022 is apparent.
And in national productivity, Nigeria's rise in prominence as Africa's fertilizer powerhouse is largely owing to the implementation of the right policies by the present administration. The president stated this today while receiving some members of the Fertilizer Producers and Suppliers Association of Nigeria, who paid him a visit at the State House in Abuja. President Muhammadu Buhari congratulated the association for increasing fertilizer production in the country since the creation of the Presidential Fertilizer Initiative in 2016.
Today, I am pleased to hear your assurances that we will not have any shortages in Nigeria because of the Eastern European conflicts that has impacted the global fertilizer trade. All these trends indicate our backward integration policy was the right policy. I would therefore like to thank members of the Fertilizer Producers Association once again for partnering with government in this very patriotic backward integration project. I also want to commend all those who invested and continue to invest in this sector. Through these investments, you are double blessed as you are making profits and bring prosperity to millions of Nigerians working in the agricultural value chain. With our over 70 blending plants operating, Nigeria was on its way to becoming Africa's fertilizer powerhouse.
President Muhammadu Buhari. Well, Millicent, talking fertilizers, there's a big factory over there in Lagos. Will you be getting a plot of land soon?
You never know, Mark Bear. You just never know. Thank you. Now we continue here in Lagos. The process of registering for the national identity number is stressful, and government should find alternative ways to collate data without causing any inconvenience to the public. Now, these were some of the views expressed by some persons who are trying to link their NIN and SIMs at the National Identity Management Commission Center earlier in Lagos.
Crowd and queues resurface as citizens desperately make efforts to link their phone numbers to their national identity number at this National Identity Management Commission office in Lagos. The apprehension follows the expiration of the deadline set by the regulatory authority, which means they can only receive calls at best. Some of them allege that preferential treatment by officials stalls the process of registration and validation.
Let the management find a way to ensure that once you come, they identify those who are coming as a first-timer to take their biodata, they identify those that have inquiries, they identify those that needs to be revalidated. Once they are able to do this, though they are trying their little best, but I believe they can improve on what they are doing presently.
Others narrate their experiences while making various submissions.
I was renewing my international passport sometime last year, and the immigration office called me that there's a mistake in my date of birth. And since last year, I've been here since last year, October, trying to correct it. And I'm here today, and they also informed me I should come back in 4 weeks' time. Why would we all keep on going in this circle, unbreakable chain of inefficiency?
When I come here, crowd was too much, you understand? So I now go to other agent, outside agent. They collect my money for the first split, 3,000 naira. They do it for me. I try to leak it with my SIM. It was not work. I go to another second place again in Agege there. They do it for me, 2,500 again. I try to leak it with my SIM. It was not work. I'm here since morning. Nobody even answer me. They say I should go and fill the form and come and collect the number. I fill form. Even the guy that started told me that when I fill form finish, I should come and collect the number. I tried to call the guy, would not even answer me.
The federal government has at multiple occasions extended the national identity number and SIM card linkage deadline, following delays by some persons to comply, while others complain of the process. According to statistics, there are about 197 million active mobile users, with 125 claiming to have successfully linked their NI into SIM cards, while about 72 million Nigerians are yet to comply.
One of Africa's foremost sustainability consulting and advocacy outfit, CSR in Action, has premiered its expository docudrama, Earth Women in Lagos. The initiative was born out of the organization's drive to tell stories of women affected by activities of extractive industries in Nigeria. Earth Women, a 30-minute dramatized documentary focused on community women, women artisanal refiners, miners, women leaders, as well as male members of communities hosting oil, gas and mining industries, premiered in Lagos to an audience of filmmakers, petroleum industry experts, among others. The documentary is expected to draw attention to themes revolving around gender-based violence and other issues faced by women in artisanal mining and exploration. Bekeme Masade Oluwola is the founder and chief executive of CSR in Action Group.
The most recent major intervention that we did was our community engagement standards. We went around to different communities with oil and gas resources across the country, and we had community meetings, we talked to businesses, we talked to governments, and then there was something that stood out in all of these engagements. We saw that we could not get women to actually be present at these meetings that would determine the fate of these communities. And every time that we asked, we would hear that they either didn't have enough women leaders or that the women didn't want to participate, meaning that they felt like they were not worth being at the table. And so we thought that we would create an opportunity to tell the story.
The docudrama was created in partnership with organizations such as Ford Foundation and Nollywood stars such as Dolapo Adeleke, the creative director, Ego Boyo, an executive producer on the project.
As a filmmaker, knowing that the power of film, being able to have those visual images, the powerful images of the women talking about what they're experiencing, hearing their voices, seeing the actual people that are being impacted speaking, it was something that I knew would be, wonderful to capture on film. Wonderful in the sense of us being able to utilize that material to tell the story we want to tell and to make the changes we hope to make.
Several individuals and organizations were honored with awards at the event. The project, which started in September 2020, is known as City Woman, an offshoot of a 10-year-old sustainability in the extractive industries (CITE) initiative, aiming to reach 20,000 women with the objective of tactfully questioning and reversing the norms that have culturally and systematically hampered women's progress in host communities in Nigeria. We have business news now. Here's Anne Wilder.
Hello and welcome to Business News. The House of Representatives Ad Hoc Committee on Unclaimed Funds has directed the Nigeria Social Insurance Trust Fund to pay 3.8 billion naira to the federal government account. According to the chairman of the committee, the money is unremitted funds in the past 3 years. The committee has also set up an issue warrant to arrest MDs of banks as well as heads of MDAs who have failed to honor its summons today. The committee had last week summoned them for failing to honor its invitation.
So far, we have been able to discover infractions to the tune of 268 million, money that belongs to the federal government of Nigeria. We have asked them to let us know when that money will be paid directly to federal government accounts, in which they promise us that they will come back after reconciliation, and then let us know when the money will be paid. Then a few minutes ago, we also discharged Nigerian Social Insurance Trust Funds, though not acquitted, but we just asked them to also go and reconcile their record and also interface with the consultants and then come back to us. Their infraction is to the tune of 3.8 billion. That's what they are owing the federal government of Nigeria. So we have asked them to make this money available to federal government, to transfer the money to federal government. And it will surprise you to know that these figures that I mentioned here are extraction from the document that is submitted before us. We did not gather this document outside their system. So I wonder what will happen by the time they fully submit all the documents required by this committee.
The positive reading in Nigeria's GDP growth may not necessarily capture the realities of the nation's economy. And that's the perspective of the CEO of the Center for the Promotion of Private Enterprises, Dr. Muda Yusuf. He was speaking on a Business Morning program. He said the urgent steps must be taken to tackle challenges limiting improvement in key sectors of Nigeria's economy.
Did we not have GDP growth of 3.98% in Q4? What is the impact on the people? What is the impact on businesses? I just told you all the critical issues. We can sit here and be projecting, yes, oil price is increasing. There's a relationship between GDP growth and oil price. And so what? You go out there and tell the business person or tell the man whose purchasing power has been massively eroded that the GDP is growing. I mean, they will look at you in the face and wonder what you are talking about. We need to address critical issues of inflation, of the weakening purchasing power, of the depreciation in the exchange rate, of the terrible situation with energy. These are the very important things. We begin to talk of GDP growth. Those things are becoming more academic, especially in our current circumstance.
Well, it's good news at the equities markets today. It halted its negative trajectory, recording its first gain in the month of April. In the second quarter, the all-share index advanced marginally by 0.01%. Laddie Williams has the details.
Hello and welcome to the Stock Market Report. Well, today we have a rebound with the local bourse adding about 2 billion naira, but still lower than more than 80 billion naira lost yesterday. The bull was able to make an appearance. Sell pressure eased with the activity chart mostly in the green and just deals down by 14%. Also, we see some buying pressure on the banking counter with the likes of GTCO, Axis Holdings, Zenith Bank adding to their share prices. Like yesterday's activities, we also see the oil and gas counter in the green with Seplat adding 20 naira to its share price. Maya PLC added 8% to its share price to close at 86 kobo to lead the gainers counter. We also see Regal Insurance, FTN Cocoa Processors on that counter, while the trio of Fidelity Bank, Transcore, WAPIC were the most traded by volume in today's session. Well, it's 3 trading days, and this is the first rise in the month of April. Well, this market is quite unpredictable. Let's see how the second quarter goes. And that's the Stock Market Report. I'm Laddie Williams. It's back to you.
That's business news for tonight. Thank you for watching. I'm Anne Mwawadu. The rest of the news at 10 continues now with Millicent.
Thank you, Anne. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has described to the United Nations Security Council how Ukrainian civilians were allegedly killed by invading Russian forces. Russia has dismissed the allegations as propaganda. Meanwhile, several countries have expelled dozens of Russian diplomats over reports of civilian deaths in Bucha near Kyiv. Here's Simon Pusey with more on this and other international news and around the world in 5.
Good evening and welcome to the Channel Studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. Reports of atrocities near the capital of Ukraine have prompted France, Germany, Italy, Denmark and Sweden to expel their Russian diplomats. Satellite images taken weeks ago of the town of Bucha in Ukraine showed bodies of civilians on a street, countering the Russian government's claims that Ukrainian forces staged the event. Here, bodies are loaded into a van near the village of Motsin. World leaders are reacting in horror to reports of civilian killings, with US and European allies warning of intensified sanctions on Russia.
Russia, because every euro, every cent.
The mayor of Kyiv, Vitaly Klitschko, has asked European politicians to cut off all commercial ties with Moscow, saying payments to Russia are covered in blood. Meanwhile, speaking to the UN Security Council, Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelensky has accused Russia of genocide. 5 people have been killed and more than 10 injured when a pickup truck crashed into a train in southern Hungary early on Tuesday. The accident happened at a crossing near the Hungarian-Serbian border shortly before 5 a.m. local time. A police spokesperson said 5 people in the truck were killed, and there were injuries both among those in the truck and on the train. The truck, which was carrying local workers, drove onto the tracks, ignoring red lights. More than 40 MPs have left Sri Lankan President Gotabaya Rajapaksa's coalition government. MPs from parties aligned with Mr Rajapaksa's SLLP party-led coalition said they would now independently represent themselves. It comes as the South Asian nation is grappling with power cuts and shortages due to an economic and foreign exchange crisis. This has led to mass protests demanding Mr Rajapaksa's resignation. Peruvian President Pedro Castillo has imposed a curfew in the capital Lima, banning people from leaving their homes in an attempt to curb protests against rising fuel and fertilizer costs.
El Consejo de Ministros ha aprobado declarar.
In a nationwide address, Castillo said the cabinet has agreed to declare a ban on the mobility of citizens to protect the fundamental rights of all people. On Monday, a wave of protests against rising fuel and fertilizer prices triggered by Russia's invasion of Ukraine continued into their second week, while the government scrambled to bring prices down. The government said the protests have become increasingly violent and at least 4 people have been killed. South Africa has announced the ending of COVID restrictions 2 years after they were imposed. Masks will still be required indoors for another month. Mr Ramaphosa said that although the pandemic was not over, he was confident that there were only better times ahead. South Africa has recorded far more coronavirus cases than any other African country, accounting for almost a third of infections across the continent. It has officially registered over 100,000 deaths. Police in South Africa's capital, Pretoria, are looking for a shopping trolley rider who was filmed holding onto a fuel tanker that was speeding on a major highway. The incident happened on Sunday following heavy rains. The man was seen smiling and waving at other motorists. Footage of the incident has been shared widely among social media users in the country. And 2 Charles Darwin manuscripts that were reported as stolen from Cambridge University Library have been anonymously returned. The items were found to be missing in 2001, but at the time staff believed they may have been misshelved. The notebooks, one of which contains Darwin's seminal 1837 Tree of Life sketch, were eventually reported as stolen in 2020 to the Cambridgeshire Constabulary. Now, almost a year and a half later, they have been anonymously returned. Inside a pink gift bag, they were left in a public area of the library that wasn't covered by closed-circuit television, with a typed note on an envelope wishing a happy Easter to the librarian.
I honestly think, the theory of natural selection and evolution is probably the single most important theory in the life and earth environmental sciences. And these are the notebooks in which that theory was put together.
There have been tears. There have been tears, and I think there still will be, because we're not over the emotional roller coaster. It means so much to us to have these homes. Like many other buildings, we don't have CCTV in places where people are just regularly just passing through. Our CCTV monitors the front of the building, it monitors the back of the building. So we have passed the CCTV that we have available to the police, and that's a matter for their live investigation.
And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the Channel Studios in Lagos.
What an Easter surprise. Thanks, Simon. And now for some sports news, here's Chris Willems.
Thank you, Millicent. Welcome to Sports News. Tiger Woods has confirmed he plans to make his long-awaited return to action at the Masters on Thursday. Woods has not featured in a top-level event since playing at Augusta National in November 2020, with a former world #1 unable to compete on the PGA Tour since suffering career-threatening injuries in a serious car crash last February. The 15-time major champion made an impressive comeback alongside his son Charlie at the PNC Championship in December, but was still non-committal on a return date when discussing his future at the Genesis Invitational in February, saying he didn't know when he would next compete.
Well, as of right now, I feel like I am going to play. As of right now, I'm going to play 9 more holes tomorrow. My recovery has been good. I've been very excited about how I've recovered each and every day, and that's been the challenge. That's why I came up here and tested out for 27 holes, because we played the par 3 course. Charlie couldn't help himself.
In the UEFA Champions League, Liverpool beat Portuguese side Benfica 3-1 in Lisbon in the quarter-final first leg as the Reds take control of the contest. Goals from Ibrahima Konate, Sadio Mane and Luis Diaz secured victory for Jurgen Klopp's men. Elsewhere, Kevin De Bruyne's second-half goal gave Manchester City victory as they overcame Atletico Madrid's typically fierce resistance in the quarter-final first leg played at Etihad Stadium. The second leg of both matches will be played on Wednesday, April 13th. Thomas Tuchel has called for Chelsea supporters to get behind the team at Stamford Bridge in their Champions League quarter-final first leg meeting with Real Madrid. The defending champions host the Spanish giant at Stamford Bridge on Wednesday night in the opening rubber in a repeat of last season's semi-finals where the Blues triumphed 3-1 on aggregate before going on to beat Manchester City in the finals.
We absolutely need it. Yeah, we absolutely need it, and we need to be better on the pitch. We're the first to admit it, but we need the crowd to be better and supporters to be better. It was like this. We need everybody on the front foot. It's a big match. It's quarterfinals, and it's a big opponent in a big occasion.
The Court of Arbitration for Sport has confirmed the Russian Football Federation has dropped an appeal against FIFA's World Cup ban imposed after the invasion of Ukraine. Russia was drawn to face Poland in a World Cup qualifying playoff semi-final, but the Poles received a bye and then reached the finals starting November the 21st by beating Sweden. The Russian Federation would, however, continue its appeal against UEFA, who have banned Russian clubs from continental engagements. That's Sports News. It's back to you, Millicent.
Thank you, Chris. And the main news again. The PDP Zoning Committee today concluded its assignment but failed to make public its recommendations. However, speculations were rife that the presidential ticket might have been thrown open to all aspirants. Also today, the federal government said it had uncovered 1,500 workers with fake appointment letters across MDAs. The head of the Civil Service of the Federation added that government had also suspended salaries of 3,000 civil servants who failed to present themselves for verification. That's the news at 10 tonight. Thank you for watching. I'm Millicent Nwaka. Have a good night and stay safe.